They're aiming to erase the memory of last week's third. Comes in at fullback. Darren Albert has gastroenteritis. Anthony Stewart, Martin Gleeson, Paul Sculthorpe, Adrian Gardner, Paul Newlove, Sean Long. The forwards, Britt, Hooper at hooker, Ward, joint the captain, Stankovic, Darren Smith. And on the bench, Hyam, Yonkers, Bennett and Martin. The coach is Ian Millward. Let's take a look at Bradford as they come out. They've spent 4 months kicking their heels in frustration after that 1918 grand final defeat. Leon Price, the fullback, the wingers, Pratt and Vinacolo, centres, Naylor and Harpe, and Robbie Pauls, the standoff, and captain Paul Deacon, the scrum half. They're out on the field. Forwards, Vanganar, Lowes and Fielden. It's Gartner, Peacock and Forshaw. And the bench, Anderson, Gilmore, Radford and Parker. Coach is Brian Noble. 8th year of summer football, and it's Old Trafford that is the goal in the middle of October. Sean Long gets us underway. Here we go for 2003, the grand final repeat. And Joe Vanganar with the first strike forward, met by the St Helens forwards. And Joint was in there, so too Darren Smith, and so too Paul Sculthorpe. It's going to be fast and furious for the opening 20 minutes, then things might just settle down. This is Mike Forshaw.
No doubt about that, Eddie. They really want to get the feel of the ball, and you can see that St Tariga, they're getting off the line extremely quick. They've got to give him 10. You could hear Ian Smith, the referee, and Bradford certainly did that. Not the best kick from the Bulls.
It was straight down the throat of Kirkpatrick, who I notice has immediately moved out to the wing, and Anthony Stewart has dropped back to fullback for the Saints. The kick was from Deacon. Here is Barry Ward. He began as a substitute against the Roosters last week. He was held up on his back like that over the line, just couldn't get the ball down. This now is Hooper, and he's on the break, is Hooper. He's got the ball inside it from Stankovic. Oh, what an important tackle that was from Peacock. St Helens rolling forward, wide it goes. And again, great Bradford defence. The man rolled into touch, A.D. Gardner. But it's a penalty to Saints. He was pushed into touch after the tackle was completed.
Good decision there by the referee in Smith. It had to be, but Gardner, what a wonderful break. Really split the defence there. Good job that it was Fielden that got back. Just got over the top. They couldn't release it. But what a start for the Saints. This has set this game up. This is going to be a beauty.
Darren Britt gets to his feet. A dive forward from dummy half by Chris Joint. He thought about offloading, took the tackle instead. Barry Ward at dummy half. Long ball looping to the feet of Long. Here now is Sculthorpe. Good run from Sculthorpe. Well watched though. Well watched by Jamie Peacock. This now is Joint. Here is Long. Barry Ward to drive it in. Fielden standing firm with Lowes.
St Helens playing it very tight, very short with a short pass.
Long called and wanted it. Spins it wide to Gleeson. Gleeson will try and go inside. Oh, it went backwards. Play on. This is Gardner again. He keeps the movement going to Long. Long will attack the line once more. Skips out of one tackle. Lowes wrestled into the ground. He was finished off by Deacon.
Bradford going far too high. They've got to make sure they get the legs. Here's the kick from Sculthorpe.
It's a try for Barry Ward. The referee will check whether they were all onside. It took a flick in the air off a fingertip. What a start to this match, and what a start for St Helens if this is given.
Super kick there from Sculthorpe. He's well onside, no doubt about that. I think it ricocheted off Mike Forshaw. Little doubt in my mind, and I'm sure the video referee will agree with me. Forshaw got a fingertip that put him onside even in foot, but he was behind the kicker. And the big prop forward Barry Ward scores the first try in Super League 8. And what a time to grab the 4 points.
Try is given to Barry Ward, denied, held up on his back over the line last week. Wouldn't be denied this evening. Barry Ward making a start at prop forward this evening.
Beautiful kick, well angled, couldn't get two hands to it and collect it. Forshaw And it came about from here. The tackle was completed, and you can see there, Shontaine Happy just did that little extra bit. Nothing that Forshaw could do about it. It was a wicked bounce, but they practiced that, and Sculthorpe has got them away.
And long adds the extras, and St Helens have an early lead. It's 6-0 at Knowsley Road, and the champions off to a flying start. It has been all St Helens in the opening moments here, and Barry Ward, well, he's had to wait a long time since his last try, but that could be critical, even so early on.
Super kick though by the standoff Paul Sculthorpe. Deliberately, he punched that ball into the ground so it would ricochet up, and it was a wicked bounce there for Forshaw. But they've got the start that they wanted.
A misty evening at Knowsley Road. John Kirkpatrick picked up and dumped to the ground by Fielden and Vanganar. Fielden trying to impose himself early on. This is Darren Britt for St Helens. Again, we see that flat attack from Saints. Putting the one man, they're utilising both forwards, Darren Britt and Barry Ward, and rightly so. Here's Chris Joint. Good run from the skipper. Good tackle though by Deacon. Stankovic to Long. And Long just plops the ball over the top, and here is Carl Pratt touching the ball for the first time in Super League with the balls. Good little run from the former Leeds winger, halted by Joint.
Well, it's no surprise that they're putting the kicks over towards the winger, Carl Pratt. He has had problems in the past.
Well, what a rip-roaring start for St Helens, hardly expected by many people because illness has swept through the Saints camp today. Bill Arthur.
That's right, Eddie. Darren Albert sent home from the Saints dressing room soon after he arrived at the ground this evening. Mark Edmondson had been sent home a couple of days earlier, both with gastroenteritis. They're lucky that it's only those two players because it can be quite a fierce thing when it strikes a team, the flu bug. And John Kirkpatrick, the man taking that ball, brought into the side. Anthony Stewart at full back, and it doesn't seem to have done Saints any harm so far. In fact, I think the last time we saw Kirkpatrick, one of the last times on Sky, he bagged a hat-trick.
Well, again, not the best kick, and he just fumbled it there. Well, it's a big problem for Brian Noble, the Bradford Bulls coach. He just wobbled and bobbled a bit. But that's the second poor kick that the Bulls have produced. They've got to get more distance.
This is Robbie Paul. Sean Long gets to him, and with help, eventually he's dropped to the ground, the Bradford Bulls skipper. Interesting note about Darren Albert, he was ever present throughout the course of 2002. This is the opening match of 2003, and Darren Albert is missing. Forshaw.
Pretty important now that the Bulls just settle themselves down.
This is Lowe's. Fielden now. Bigger than ever, Fielden. Oh, he doesn't like the attention from Joint.
And Joint went at him on a second basis, and they want it again. And that's good refereeing by Ian Smith. He says, get away, get on with it.
Good ball to Deacon. He's missed Long, and in the end, the tackle had to be a good one from Darren Smith.
Well, it was a switch move. It looked to me as though there was a hint of obstruction.
A dab to the in-goal area. And it's a drop out underneath the sticks. Anthony Stewart was brave, but he couldn't get out of the in-goal area.
Talk about pressure and tension out here. Good play by Stewart to put himself in that position. But boy, oh boy, wasn't that great to see. The two forwards there having a real old go. Joint and Fielden. 10 times for the coach.
Eskimo Joe, Brian Noble. This is the incident between Fielden and Joint.
Well, he just pushed away with the left arm. Joint said, I'm not having that. They had a real old struggle. It's rough and tough out there, but we didn't expect anything else.
We did not. This is Fielden again. Here is Lowe's. This now is Vanganar. The Bradford Bulls forward juggernaut trying to gain some ground. And they have the penalty.
But surely they'll take the two on offer. Well, you can see here, Hooper was involved, Britt came in late. And there was no way in the world he was going to allow his opposite, Joe Vanganar, any opportunity to play that ball. Good decision by the referee, who I must say in extreme tense circumstances, has handled it well. Instead of stopping the game, Eddie, Ian Smith, and this is the reason why I think this guy is going to be one of the best referees in the world eventually. He's learned it all the time. He could have stopped it, slowed the game down. It was only handbags at 6 paces. Get on with it. Good referee.
Well, that was the early incident. This is the one that he has halted things for, the penalty. And Deacon, who struck 7 goals from 9 attempts against Warrington in the Cup, leading the way in Super League 7 he was, with those 155 goals. And his season's tally for 2003 is underway. Bradford are on the board, but the champions still lead by 6 points to 2.
Well, I'm sure that Brian Noble, the Bulls coach, will be quite happy with those 2 points. He knows that every time they get into a position, if they can pick up points, maybe just a 2 every time, it'll lead back. But the major part that he'll be thinking is the fact that Bradford, after that shock start, can just slowly but surely get back into this game.
Well, Bradford have never lost on the opening day of a Super League season before, but this is a magnificent start from the Saints, isn't it, Phil? Well, I think we'll get down to Phil in a moment. Can't hear him at the minute, but we will be there shortly. Put that question to him again. It actually is a rip-roaring start from both these sides. Naylor looking for the penalty, none forthcoming from Ian Smith. Another drive forward here.
I must say, both sides are eager. There's not much room between them when they play the ball. Look at that Saints one-line of defence, pretty solid. And it's good defence too.
Good ball then from Harpy, and this is Vainicolo. He got through Gardner like he wasn't there. The kick forward, Forshaw chases it. Joint got to him, offloaded back to Vainicolo, and Saints survive, but it's the last tackle.
Was he taken out though, Vainicolo, after kicking the ball? I think Smith has allowed the advantage. Surely they've got to get in here.
This is Price, St. Helens trying to scramble, forward pass.
It certainly was. But Brian Noble, the Bulls coach, will be looking back at the incident where Vainicolo made the break. This is it. Watch him kick. Is he held back? I think Stewart took a step to his left. Forshaw did well, but you've got to hand it to this St. Helens defence.
What a tackle from Joint.
Chris Joint, the skipper, came back. Well, it looked all the world is going to be a try. Forshaw anticipated the kick back on the inside from the big winner, Vainicolo. Exciting stuff.
Fantastic start to what we all believe will be the best Super League ever. Super League 7 was pretty good, and if these two are setting the standards for Super League 8, we're in for a fantastic summer. Let's try again to get down to Phil. What a start from the Saints.
Absolutely unbelievable. They've certainly lifted and learnt some lessons from last week against the Roosters. One of the things, the speed of the defensive line to trap the balls has been absolutely impressive, and really what a start so far.
Here's Long, kick into open territory behind the Bradford defence, and that will hang, that won't go anywhere other than into the arms of Carl Pratt. And Pratt trying to beat Darren Smith, but couldn't. Naylor was the dummy half. Here is Leon Price. He had a great game against Warrington in the Cup at full-back, a 70-metre try, chiming into the line at every opportunity if he can here. 6-2 to the champions. Robbie Paul from dummy half. Scampers away again. And Robbie Paul on the half break. He has got support with him. He's gone the wrong way. Good ball out wide though to Vainicolo. Vainicolo inside to Harpy. Harpy, what a tackle. What a tackle back. And it was Aidy Gardner. Looping pass again. Bulls still haven't done. Robbie Paul, James Lowes, Scott Naylor, Stuart Fielden. Through one, can't get through the next, can he? No, haul down again. They have a penalty. They have a penalty for offside under the posts.
Well, they'll take it. And there was also a player taken out, I feel. I think it was Adrian Gardner that was the culprit. This is a break from Robbie Paul, and there you can see definitely someone taking him back. Maybe it was Hooper that got the hand to it. He was missed by the official. But again, you've got to admire the way this St. Helens defence scrambles back. You'd think their life depended on it. But I've got to say, the Bulls are running hot.
Well, Gardner was the man who got back somehow. But they have conceded a penalty, St Helens, for offside under the sticks. And Paul Deacon will surely add to his tally here and get the Bradford Bulls back to within 2 of St Helens. Which he does. The flags go up from the touch judges. St Helens 6, Bradford 4. Ian Millwood's men made a blistering start with that try. Brian Noble's team have clawed their way back. It is 7 years, you know, since Super League began in the spring of 1996. We're in Gay Paris that night, 31-24 victory over the Sheffield Eagles. Steve-O, in 7 years, haven't the standards risen dramatically?
They certainly have, and the full-time professionalism obviously has helped to get to this standard. But the pace of this game so far, you've got to look at it. I mean, we're barely over 14 minutes. If they keep this up, it will just prove how athletic these players have to be.
Vanganar's run, but the pass to Gardner was forward. He took a few bangs and biffs on the way, did Vanganar. Well, he's right, the referee.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned the word composure, and it was only wonderful defence from Saints. It's avoided Bradford from crossing on 2 occasions, but they've got to calm things down a little bit more. They've weathered the storm well of the Saints, as they always do, especially on their home ground.
That's New Love who takes the tackle. Yes, they won all of their home Super League matches in 2002. 14 straight wins in the weekly rounds. But Bradford won here last October to qualify for Old Trafford. And it's now Saints who are examining that Bulls defence. Quick play, the ball from Britt. Quick hands from the Saints wide. They're in again. He's in as Kirkpatrick. Kirkpatrick gets the nod from the referee. St Helens, they just take all the punishment that's going. Then they strike. And Kirkpatrick, he wasn't playing an hour ago, and he's come up with their second try.
The quality that they have and the depth here at St Helens is showing the way. But the difference between the two sides, they're taking their opportunities. Bradford have failed to do that. But what a beautiful pass from New Love. Sculthorpe, the quick pass there from New Love. They got caught short there. Carl Pratt went in on the angle and was caught very easy indeed. One of the best exponents are the Saints on that short blind side. And Bradford have paid the price.
Well, we got a glimpse of John Kirkpatrick at Bradford last April. And he was very, very promising, particularly when scoring 3 tries against Leeds last August. He got a late call from his coach, Ian Millwood, tonight. The 24-year-old over for the second St Helens try. Nothing seems to bother Ian Millwood, totally unfazed. Losing stars like Darren Albert, Kieran Cunningham till the middle of April at least. But still, Saints keep on coming, and kicks like that from long. 12-4 to the champions.
Wonderful play, but look at that. 4 defenders on Bradford. Pratt had no option but to take the man with the ball. Created the overlap, did Newlove and Kirkpatrick, who, as Eddie has just mentioned, didn't know he was playing until half an hour before the kickoff. And no better way than to repay your coach's confidence than scoring a vital try like that. Super stuff from the Saints.
They are champions for the 4th time in 7 years of Super League. Leading point scorers in 2002. 158 tries into the bargain. They're showing their pedigree here, all right. There's one of the new boys. Darren Smith plays the ball to Chris Joint. Here is Darren Britt. Bounces off Vanganar and Fielden. If you're going to take on Saints, you've got to take on the Bulls, rather. You've got to take on this pack. And St Helens are doing exactly that.
Good tactics though by Ian Millwood. The prop forwards are not getting in virtually all the time in the first receiver. They're actually running a little bit out wide. Good ploy, and it's working.
Stewart on the last, plays the ball to Joint. Joint long with the kick over the top. Whoa, wicked bounce! Wicked bounce! Sculthorpe behind the sticks! Stunning try from St Helens! Absolutely stunning! The bounce was kind, but Long measured the kick. And it stood up for Sculthorpe, and the double Man of Steel winner was onto it in a flash. He's playing at standoff tonight, Sculthorpe. His Man of Steel winning position. What a try.
Super stuff there. And you could see that Pratt had left himself in no man's land. You've got to make a decision before that. There were three chiefs running towards him, and the Indian couldn't stop him. Superb kick. Interesting to note that Ian Millwood was critical of his side when they played the Roosters last week. He said our kicking game was poor. 2 tries from the kicks tonight. He'll be happy, and rightly so. And as I mentioned, Eddie, early in this game, it did not surprise me that applying the pressure to the one and only Carl Pratt, who struggled against the Kiwis in much the same fashion. Can he bounce back? I think he can.
Long adds the extras, and St Helens have an 18-4 lead. Well, they're making their intentions known from the very first evening of Super League 8.
Look at that, it's straight into no man's land. You've got to get your defence sorted out from there. Neither fullback, neither winger picked it up, and it was far too late. Man of Steel picks up 4, kicks the ball over the ground. They're running hot. What a game.
What a start for St Helens. Here's Joint. Well, you say that the Bulls are on fire. St Helens, well, they are fantastic.
It's all about tactics, Eddie, and they've got it right.
Head-to-head over the years since '73, that's the way it looks. And this is the telling one. Just 5 league wins here in 30 years for Bradford. In the Super League, nothing to choose between the two. Another good kick from Long, in between Price and Pratt. And Carl Pratt with work to do.
And he'll have plenty more work to do in the remaining minutes as well. I know that Brian Noble has been working hard with Carl Pratt on that particular aspect of his play, but that was very poor coordination between the winger and the fullback Leon Price when they allowed Long all the time and the acreage to kick that ball into open space.
Great start. You enjoying it, Clarkie?
An almost perfect first 20 minutes here for Ian Millward's side. It was critical last week of their field position and of their finesse in their handling as well. Those two aspects have been absolutely top rate. You think about the tries they've scored and then the fact that most of the game, other than the Bradford breaks, has been played down deep inside the Bradford half. Again, not tremendous length on this kick, and St Helens on the first tack, almost on the halfway line. That's exactly how he'll want the game to go.
Darren Smith, wide it goes to Anthony Stewart, operating at full-back this evening.
There again, Eddie, we see a very poor kick from the Bradford side yet again. We've had good quality kicking from the Saints, but Bradford have to improve very quickly to get back into this game.
Remember, 12 changes from 4 allowed. Hooper's running wild. Hooper! Jason Hooper, his first try for St Helens, and Bradford have got no answer to this. Jason Hooper cut them to ribbons then. Versatile, highly recommended to Ian Millwood from his old Illawarra club. And Jason Hooper marks his Super League bow with this try.
You've got to make sure the tackles are on. This is not bad from a hooker, is it? He's a utility player, we know that. But look at the in and out from Long, and look at that wonderful break. Forshaw missed his man, fended him off. Price couldn't do anything about it. The crowd here are going bananas, and why not? Absolutely sensational.
Fantastic try from Hooper. Well, he knows where the try line is. He has been there and done it. in Australia. A sensational start, but not so for Brian Noble. He has to get the message out quickly. The Bulls have got to steady things down. Long has already kicked 3 from 3 tonight. This the most difficult though. 34 points in the cup tie against UTC. They're the French club in the last round of the Challenge Cup, including a personal best 4 tries. Long with the kick. First blemish of the night. 22 points to 4.
Great play by Long. The in and out sucks in the loose forward Mike Forshaw, and it allows half the gap. They can see it. Forshaw couldn't get the hit on him, but look at the pace of this fella. Bang! Never any doubt. They are shot to ribbon to the Bulls.
Come on, go. Come on.
Wow.
Go.
What a start.
Come on, pal.
Well, after all the pre-match changes,
Go. Stay behind
after
me.
the illness that swept through the camp, who would have picked this? 22 points to 4. Bradford restart, deep kickoff.
And the most amazing thing, Eddie, how many times have we heard it throughout the years that defence wins your games, and that's exactly what it could have been. Reversal. 2 wonderful opportunities, but 2 great tackles. They dragged themselves back and prevented Bradford scoring those 2 tries that would have got control of this game.
Here's Darren Britt and Hooper again. Joint. Sculthorpe, hard and straight up the middle.
Bradford struggling to get into them now. They're hanging back. Early in the game, they were moving as one unit.
Long with the kick. This is Leon Price. I mean, we say Jason Hooper is the hooker, and he was named as the hooker tonight. Steve-O, I can't remember him being in at dummy half yet.
Well, it doesn't matter. The utility player, he knows the quality of this man, does his coach Ian Millwood.
But they all get in. They all go to dummy half. It doesn't matter who it is.
Well, there's no point in having one man run there all the time. A, he runs out of energy, and B, sometimes he's tired when he gets there. He gets a slow service.
Here's Anderson. Good tackle low down by Darren Smith. James Lowes trying to spark the Bulls to life. The ball to Gardner. It was dipping to Gardner, and Long was on it. Good tackle by Gleeson and Joint as well. Lowes, back it goes to Deacon.
He's outside, give him 10.
And now that's a bit of a better kick, but still 10 metres from his own line. Kirkpatrick, the man who picks it up. Well, Anderson missed him. He went for a big hit, Anderson, and missed him completely.
It was a lot further than what they've done already, but it's still a poor kick. It was right down the throat of the winger. They've got to change their tactics very, very quickly here. And yet again we see the wonderful play from Saints, utilising the forwards, running out wide, even on the outside of the centres.
Darren Smith, 4 tackles gone. They've made 50 metres, as you've seen. This is Yonkers. Gets the pass away to Darren Britt. He's wrestled to the ground on the last. Here's Joint. Now Long. Here's another kick. Tester for Vinacolo. It's a play on. It's a try. Gardner. This will be play on. They'll go to the video referee. This will be a try.
Just check onside, offside. And if there was any interference or any slight knock-on, Steve.
It was in the air, and there were danger signals for the Bulls.
Again, they opt for the wonderful kick. It looks as though they're onside, as far as I'm concerned, yeah. Look right down at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. It's a try scorer, Gardner. He had plenty of protection there, but Vinacolo was slow to get to it. Good work there. Jason Hooper put the pressure on Vinacolo. It dropped for Stankovic. Now, was that a knock-on? Maybe that's what they're looking at, but I think the ball went backwards. That's what the video referee is looking now. Then, who makes the first contact? It is, I feel, Leon Price. It was good work by the hooker, Jason Hooper. And Vinacolo, was running through to it. And I think this try will be given.
Well, that's what they're checking, whether Hooper got first touch.
Well, I normally get off to a good start. I've got the first one right. I think I'll get this one right too. This is TRY for the first time.
Prize given to St Helens. 80 Gardner. Vainicolo couldn't deal with the threat of the high ball. It's 26 points to 4. Saints jubilant, Bradford stunned.
Beautiful play yet again. You can see there that Sean Long had so much time to get that ball away, which allowed his defence, should the attack get forward, it had plenty of height. There was plenty there helping, but they allowed Jason Hooper to interfere with Vainicolo. And Gardner in for the try. Well, who would have thought this? It has been an absolutely magnificent display from the Saints.
And Long had a kick from this area not long ago. He missed it one side, now he misses the other, and it's 26-4 to St Helens. Unbelievable. Gardner's try. 2 tries in the cross-code challenge here against Sale, and his first ever St Helens try came against the Bulls at Valley Parade last April, when he came on as a sub in the 54-22 defeat.
You've got to say that the kicking game, which disappointed Ian Millward last week, has certainly come back.
Absolutely spot on, isn't it?
But the 4 kicks we've seen from Bradford have not gained any ground whatsoever.
Here's Kirkpatrick.
Well,
Johnson again at dummy half.
If ever the side needed a try to lift them, it has to be the Bradford side. But what a great effort they're getting from the 2 prop forwards, Darren Britt and Barry Wall.
And now they have a penalty.
He's not made any attempt, just holding it.
Lee Radford all over the top.
Well, little doubt about it. They gave him a bit of a roughing up as it went into it, and then Lee Radford went right over the top. Desperation, I feel, running through this Bradford side.
Well, at the moment they've got no answer to the Saints, and I think Brian Noble knows it too.
Well,
Here's Britt.
They just haven't got the ball.
Another penalty to St Helens.
Jimmy. It was a bit high.
No, it wasn't you, it was him. Ask him.
Right over the top. Jimmy Lowe's lined him up. Darren Britt received
Jimmy
it.
had to jump as well.
And that will be an opportunity for an easy extra 2 points.
2
Ian
meters.
Millward,
2 meters.
he'll be more than happy. Especially with the way they have pinpointed Bradford's weaknesses. And it has to be said that the fullback and the 2 wingers have not produced in a defensive quality for the Bulls. And against a side like Saints, they're capable of just ripping any side in the world apart.
They are if they get the field position and the possession that they've had tonight.
Yes.
Long adds 2 more points to the St Helens total. This isn't the same side that we saw last Friday against the Roosters.
Well, it was disappointment, and Ian Millward making quite clear to everybody concerned that he knew that the reason why they were not involved against the Sydney Roosters was because, as I mentioned earlier, their kicking tactics weren't good. It's now a reversal tonight, but I'll tell you something, this Bradford side, they've got what St Helens had last week, poor kicking.
Jimmy, hold with me, hold with me, hold, go.
Britt plays the ball to Sculthorpe. Here's Kirkpatrick again, and Joint was under pressure immediately from Lowe's. Well, it sounds a stupid thing to say, Phil, but Bradford have got a score, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. The one thing that impresses me so much about St Helens, and it's the reason why they're consistently the best side in the UK, is because they have so many players who can score a try for the side. If you just think about tonight, both wingers left and right, hooker, front row, and even stand-off. That's a great mix of try scorers in your team. And when you've got that ability, that's so hard to defend against. and their execution has just been world class tonight.
Yes, it's a fantastic display. There are 8.5 minutes away from the half-time siren, and Ian Millwood would want this game to go on for the full 80. He really would. Look at this. Long is all over Deacon, and with help from Gleeson, they're not making any progress. Robbie Paul.
Wonderful opening by Saints, I must say. Talk about building in confidence. Bradford have had little possession, and that's only because of the fact Saints won't allow them to have it.
Kick from James Lowes.
It's in roll, boys. Roll away.
Saints have it back again with Kirkpatrick.
Interesting to see there. I wonder if Brian Noble has sent out the message. Hiddy Deacon well off form with the kicking on the boot. And maybe James Lowes is taking over that responsibility. But they've got to start working for each other and getting their defence sorted out.
Yonkers onto Sculthorpe. Sculthorpe dropped heavily to the ground by Peacock. Here is Britt. Ooh, big hit on Britt. Anderson, that was a good hit this time.
It had to be as well. They're controlling it in the forwards, both Britt and Ward.
Stankovic. Radford and Anderson get him down on the last.
Oh, stepping over there. Radford stamped on Stankovic there. We can do without that.
That's a great kick from Long off the outside of the boot, and Carl Pratt takes control of it.
And a very relieved Carl Pratt, I'm sure. This is a stamping here from Radford. This is absolutely stupid. He knew exactly what he was doing. Cut that out, fellas, come on. Frustration, we know, must be going through the Bulls' camp. But the only way out of this is not to be sucked into a bish-bash organisation. They've got to show skill. That's the only way that Bradford can get back into this game.
And here is Radford for the Bradford Bulls. St Helens defence now is keen as mustard. This is Deacon. Back it goes to Peacock. Well, since those couple of early breaks from Bradford when St Helens defence was called to muster arms, they haven't really threatened the St Helens line at all. And the kick from Deacon, he'll have to run it back. Will Kirkpatrick? It's a good chase. Such confidence.
That's the first real good one they've produced. And it's taken 34 minutes to bring about the first good kick and chase.
Well, they're firing on all cylinders now, St Helens. The way they flick that ball around in the most dangerous of circumstances. The pass is stuck as well, and they make ground.
We mentioned the tactics with St Helens. I think, Eddie, I may be wrong, but I think before the end of this half, every single player in the Saints jumper has actually gone into dummy half.
Great kick again from Long. What a kick. Price ambles across and gets it. Sculthorpe almost gets in. There are reinforcements aplenty. Hooper and Smith on.
Got to get to your feet.
Oh, now then, it's a penalty
Got to get to your feet.
for St Helens. You have got to get up to your feet and then put the ball down. It's a directive this year. They're trying to strengthen this play the ball area
Got to
up.
get to your feet. You just left the ball on the
Well,
ground.
now then, was Darren Smith interfering? I think perhaps it's 50-50, but...
Well, he might have been, but he has got to get to his feet. Got to make the effort, and he didn't. Look.
No, he can't do that anymore. No doubt that Darren Smith was making it difficult for him, but as you say, a simple ruling that should be into every brain box in the off-season.
Well, Stuart Cummings, the referee's boss, will be our guest on Boots and All on Wednesday evening, Steve-O, and he has met with every one of these coaches, Ian Millwood, Brian Noble, the other 10 in Super League, and he has said this is the way it's going to be this year. The referees are told, and so they've just got to live by the rules. We'll talk to Stuart Cummings and Ian Millwood, by the way. Sky Sports Extra Wednesday night for the second Boots and All of the new season. Well, Long can add 2 more points to St Helens' total here. They'll almost be out of sight. Oh, that's a bad miss.
Well, maybe Lady Luck is just starting to swing towards Bradford, but believe you me, they need a lot more than...
Leo!
The Irish Clover.
Well, they need a lot more than missed penalties from Long. That is for sure. That's a better kick from Deacon.
Now the
Stewart's
backpedaling. It looks good. Are they going to back off? They did slightly. That's a big problem, as we've seen over the years, Eddie, is the fact that even when you get St Helens down in their own quarter, they're likely to make the break and score sensational tries.
Oh, yes.
It's their trademark.
Bradford will know all about that from a famous playoff game here a few years ago. Scored by this fella, the try that night. And poor old Matty Elliott fell off his chair in frustration. Long to Sculthorpe, running venomously Paul Sculthorpe tonight. Darren Smith, brother of Hull's Jason Smith, of course. Last tackle, Sculthorpe. Oh, it's a good kick. Oh, and they allow it to bounce. Nearly fatal, but Saints all offside. The referee screaming at them to give him 10, and they didn't. So he has penalised St Helens.
Well, I hope this Bradford side don't stop and get a pizza on the way home, because if it's hot, they'll drop it. But take nothing away from this fella. His kicking has been superb. They know exactly where to put it into it, where the defensive structure of Bradford is all at sea. Look at that defence. He knows he's in trouble.
Hold!
He only needs to look at the scoreboard to know that. But the way Saints are playing, and nearly an interception there by Gleeson. A looping pass, it's desperate stuff from Bradford. Here's Shontaine Harpy. Great tackle from Long.
Picked him up so easy.
Vinacolo to Robbie Paul. Oh! Parker waited for that, and Sculthorpe said, "Come to daddy." Lowe's, Harpy.
Well, this Bradford side, they're priding themselves. They say that they're the biggest and strongest throughout Super League. We haven't seen it yet. It's not a bad kick from Lowe's. It might hit the... Thought it was going to hit the post.
Sculthorpe works it out, though. And then his hauled back. It's a drop out. He was right. The ball carrying arm never touched the ground.
He's having a big game, Ian Smith, the official. And that's the first real good kick and chase. And well played there by Anderson. And you could see that Parker was lifting the arm, but it was this big fella that made sure that Sculthorpe couldn't get that ball down. Saints, they're not too happy about the fact they want to start it quick. Once again, the official is awake to it.
1 minute they have, Bradford, and that's not a great kick. He was looking for touch, I think. This is Gartner.
Yes, all with me. Barry,
but great field position here for Bradford. Can they make it pay in the last minute of the first half? Harpy, inside to Lowe's. On it goes then wide to Parker. He'll take on Smith. Joyce is in there.
This is where they need a second phase of attack. Someone coming from the back on that first line.
Lowe's to Robbie Paul. Robbie Paul spinning away, finding Naylor.
Off him.
10 metres away from the line. 3 tackles gone.
3.
Lowe shouting the instructions at dummy half. This is Radford. Radford checks and goes straight. They're offside, St Helens.
Surely they'll take a quick tap. There's only seconds remaining, 15 in fact.
Well, quick taps are a thing of the past, Steve-O. They've got to go at the referee's mark. Now they can take it. Lowe's to Anderson. Anderson charging forward. He's held up. Have they got enough time to play the ball? Referee says that'll do for half-time.
Well, the hooter went while he was playing the ball. You can't say it's controversial. He has got no complaints whatsoever about decisions against them. They are really going to struggle in the second half, and I'm sure Brian Noel will be so happy to get to his charges.
Barry Ward's try in the 3rd minute set the platform. And from that moment on, St Helens grew in confidence. They never looked back. They have run in 5 tries in this first half without reply. Ward, Kirkpatrick, Sculthorpe, Hooper and Gardner. A magnificent first half for the champions. Super League is back, and so are the... Well, they could...
Just got to admire the way. Remember those 2 wonderful breaks from Bradford, the only 2 real opportunities. And yet, St Helens, they have the guts to get back and prevent the try.
Short kick-off from Bradford. Early chances for them here. And they have the play-on decision from referee Ian Smith. So they've got the possession from the kick-off. Do Bradford mean business in this second half? And that's that first one was a zero tackle, by the way, because it was a knock-on. Here is Anderson.
That's two, come on.
Well, this is an opportunity for Bradford to post their first try. How's the St Helens defence going to stand up to this? It's with Peacock. Good strong run.
It's at this point in time that the likes of Robbie Paul and Paul Deacon, who we saw very little of in that first half, they've got to produce something extraordinary.
Nothing there for Leon Price. Paul Newlove shooting out of the line. Robbie Paul dummying to go left. This time he does go left. Here is Danny Gartner. And that's the last tackle. Will St Helens defence stand firm here? It's with Deacon now. There's the kick from Deacon. Ball is free. And the referee, I think Radford believes he scored. The referee hands it on to the video. Lee Radford believes he scored, but the referee Ian Smith isn't sure yet, and he wants the video referee Steve Cross to check it out. Well, the ground has gone very quiet all of a sudden.
Well, he's all right there. Shontaine Happy was just about level. And you can see that Radford is moving into the position, and I think it ricocheted off one of the Saints players, so this will be TRY. Well, it's a try that they needed. It stunned the fans here. Total control, and Long allowed him to get to it. This will go as a TRY. All came about by that crafty short kick-off. They mean business, but they needed that. Oh, did they ever.
Well, if this is a try, it will breathe life maybe into Bradford's challenge. And a try it is. Well, almost greeted by stunned silence, despite the fact that there are so many Bradford fans up at the other end of the field. Radford with the try, and they have capitalised on that short kick-off. And Bradford get the start to the second half that they so desperately needed. Deacon to add the extra two, he hopes. And Deacon does add the extras. So suddenly, game on at Knowsley Road, 28-10. But it all came from that short kick-off.
And these are the good tactics. This is the reason why I mentioned the fact that sometimes teams are in control in that first half. They don't really want it to be half-time. It got a bad ricochet, and it just bobbled in front of Sean Long. But good tactics. Just held off there. Hooper and Long, maybe they got confused.
Well, can Bradford build on that? A wonderful start to the second half, and I'm sure something that Brian Noble was asking for during the dressing room chat at half-time, and Bill Arthur has got news of what was said in the sheds. Bill?
Dead right, Eddie, because Brian Noble, the fur wasn't flying during half-time. He was very calm in that dressing room, but he did say, guys, we came here with a game plan. We never got anywhere near that in the first half, not just down to St Helens running hot, but also due to Bradford's own failings. Let's get back to the game plan. They've done that already in the second half with that kicking game from Paul Deacon, which was so inaccurate in the first half. The kicks paid off. They want more of that in the second half, and they still believe they can close the gap. Ian Millwood, up until now, very happy with that first 40 minutes. Everything went right for the Saints. What a difference a week makes. Last week against Sydney, the kicking game was all over the place. Millwood a lot happier with it tonight, and the intensity of the game, the way the pace is being dealt with by the Saints. They really have come at the Bulls out of the traps, and they've taken the game to them, and he wants them to continue with that in the second half.
Thanks, Bill. The penalty given to St Helens for offside against Carl Pratt stood in front of the kicker. They got themselves in an awful mess in that set of six. Scott Naylor was the man with the kicking responsibilities, number 20 there in on the tackle, but it shouldn't have been his.
I know, and that is the problem. They got off to that start. Radford has pulled them back, give them the opportunity, and then they just, well, lose the plot in as much that you've got to get the likes of Deacon, Robbie Paul and Lowe's and say to them, come on. Sort the kicking game out. Deacon showed them with a neat little kick in that allowed Radford the try.
Darren Britt, at 33 years of age, is having a magnificent match for Saints. This is Tim Yonkers. They're 20 metres away from the Bradford sticks. Tackle 4. joint to Long. Long teasing the Bradford defence, pops it up for Darren Smith. Smith tried to go round Anderson, but with Parker he's hauled to the ground. That's the last. Good ground from that early penalty. Here is Long again. There's the kick, charged down off the feet.
Well, Jimmy knew he didn't have the speed, and he knew how important it was to make sure that he got possession. Didn't panic. The wily hooker said, "We need that ball, mate."
Yes, they need possession, Bradford. And here now is Carl Pratt. Busy little run from Pratt. He gets the balls to halfway.
A lot more urgency in the attack now from the Bulls. And boy, it was needed.
Lows to Gartner.
It was a 50-50 ball as well. I just get the impression that both sides playing it very flat. Of course, it's worked out for St Helens, but Bradford need to give themselves a little bit more room, maybe come back on the angle, give them a few yards to run onto the football. See, it's very flat indeed.
Last tackle, that's why the kick's in from Deacon. And Kirkpatrick not interested in that. He will allow the ball to run over the dead ball line. And St Helens will bring it back for a tap on the 20.
A lot of sides don't get too disappointed with the fact that it goes dead in goal, because they can come up to the 20 mark and have a straight line of defence, and you can see there that they've got it.
Indeed so, and this year as well, yeah, Darren Brick you're going to pick out, I know, but this year they've got to wait the team in possession from the tap until the referee blows the whistle for the mark.
And rightly so. We saw so many, well, funny incidents last year.
A lot of people, though, say, Steve-O, it's going to slow the game down.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lot fairer.
Sculthorpe's kick now, same again, that will run dead in goal.
Well, still a commanding 18-point lead. He had a magnificent season, did Sculthorpe, and rightly so, was awarded for the second year running the Man of Steel. But he knows that he's still got a hard struggle. He knows that there's still quality in this Bradford side, but they're lacking cohesion at the moment. They're not working as a unit.
Just have your attention.
Carl Pratt, good run from dummy half, halted by Smith and Britt, the two old hands in that St Helens pack. Smith 34 and Britt 33, as I said earlier. Boy, they've got some energy though. Lowe's gets the ball away to Deacon, who'll bring it back this way, but he was watched all the way by Mickey Hyam. Must be disappointed not to be replacing Kieran Cunningham from the start, Hyam, but Hooper's performance has been magnificent. This is Gilmore now.
Well, off the subs bench, Gilmore certainly had a little bit more speed to their attack.
That's a good kick from James Lowe's. That's hanging. Oh, but well claimed by Anthony Stewart.
Super stuff. Eyes on the football at all time. Any youngster watching, that is a perfect way to take it. Didn't worry about the oncoming traffic. Even though the lights were red, he took it quite easy.
Gartner hauled down by Anderson and then held down. Well, I said that the quick tap penalty rule that's been changed a little bit this year will slow the game down, but the referees want nothing to slow it down at the play of the ball.
That's a good kick as well. Now watch Saints, they'll play it a little bit different. Look how they're on the angle. Three-quarter line setting up. They'll probably utilise 2 or 3 runs.
Great offload from Stankovic. This is Mickey Hyam! Wow! What an offload from Stankovic, and Hyam so close. Yonkers, back it goes to Long. Long, teasing the line again. Lovely hands by Smith. Back it goes to Newlove. Newlove wide to Kirkpatrick. Second try for Kirkpatrick. John Kirkpatrick, second try. What a start to the season for that young man. Wasn't in the team this morning. Darren Albert sent home with a tummy bug, and Kirkpatrick offered the chance, and Brian Noble pensive. That wasn't in his script.
Tummy bug, changed with a Tommy gun. That's what Kirkpatrick's produced tonight. Look how they hang off. Super stuff. Smith offloaded. Newlove there. They're all at sea. Carl Pratt had no idea what was happening here. He had to go for the man. That's the second time they've been caught and got the overlap. But this man's jinking run and then the run around. Sean Long, super pass. There's no one at home.
John Kirkpatrick having a night to remember. Sean Long, good to see him back and fully fit at the start of the season. Oh, what a kick. Oh, what a kick. 34-10. Parity restored for the Saints.
Look at this, 2 going for the ball carrier, and Pratt said, I'll join in 2. 3-1 leaves a gap. Simple try in the end, but well worked. Super stuff from Sean Long, creating the opportunity. And again, we've seen Paul Newland creating another try for this youngster.
Well, Ian Millward has picked up 4 trophies in 3 years here. This is his 150th club coaching appointment, including his time at Lee. He's won 112 of the previous 149, and he's well on the way to making it 113. And it's been the effort from Darren Britt, Darren Smith and all his forwards, and this Quicksilver attack that really has caught the eye. The offloads and breaks telling their own story. There's another little half break.
Probably the best game I've seen Darren Britt have for a long, long time, and he had a good season last year.
Hooper with the mistake.
That's good defence.
Well, Hooper was under pressure, couldn't take the pass in.
That's much better defence there. Deacon making sure that he went low. It was a problem from Bradford in that first half. They allowed too much latitude for the St. Helens side to get over the advantage line. They're happy, and why wouldn't you be at the scoreline at 34-10? I don't think even in their wildest dreams they thought it was going to be this easy. Still plenty to go though.
Low handling errors for these 2 sides. This is Robbie Paul. He's away from Stankovic, but Sculthorpe was waiting for him, and Newland.
We've got to see more of Robbie Paul as well. We know his quality. He's got the jinking run. They've got to come up with something different.
That was for Fielden. He managed to hang on. Gets to his feet, plays the ball. Parker wide to Deacon. Deacon taking them on himself. The last tackle, shouts referee Ian Smith. Harpy with the dab over the top, but poor kick again. Kirkpatrick, well, you'd think he'd been playing full-back all his life. Anthony Stewart, rather.
Well, I've got to say, Eddie, that had a stamp on it, didn't it? That was posted right down his throat.
Point Ian Millward was making, by the way, before the start of the season. 17 names on the team sheet, he said. They can all play anywhere at St Helens, and they're proving so tonight. It's a 17-man game now, and this fella's electric. Brilliant pass. Yonkers, and again to Long. It's fantastic.
It don't come much better than this, I can tell you.
Here's Yonkers.
Look how easy they're getting over the advantage line.
Smith to Long.
He's just cutting them apart.
Another good kick, but this time a little bit too deep. But the crowd should be on its feet and applauding this handling.
Yonkers back on the inside. They got to him in the end, but before that, it was a neat little slip pass from the loose forward, Darren Smith. Jimmy Lowe's wanted to get on with it quickly, and
well, he hadn't been given the mark.
Well, I don't know why he's arguing with the official. That's as you've just heard the referee say, it's not my rules.
Yes, you can do it.
He's got to abide by them, and so have the players. And rather sarcastically, Jimmy Lowe says,
"Cheers, Paul.
All right now,
get off his foot. Come on, you know the rules."
Well, we just heard the referee again just say, you know the rules. I'm not so sure, Eddie.
Leon Price.
Whoa, come on. Oh. Thanks, Frank.
Robbie Paul to Peacock. Bouncing off him was Sculthorpe, but then he comes back again, Sculthorpe.
Well, the big juggernauts that they are so proud of in this Bradford outfit. They got getting up through this wall. It's pretty solid stuff. They really work hard for themselves. Work as a team and a unit.
Lowe's with a dummy. Here is Deacon wide to Harpy. He offloads well. Vinacolo. Nicolo trying to use his strength, and there's plenty of that. Lowe's again. Deacon, well, it wasn't the greatest kick, and Stewart picks it up. And there's two Bradford players trailing back. They were injured in that movement. Deacon was one of them, just getting himself back into the defensive line.
Well, again, it wasn't a good effort by the little halfback Paul Deacon. Brian Noble must be going through nightmares at the moment. It is so important you get that department sorted out. Apply the pressure. Make sure that you turn your opposition around. They failed to do that.
Britt again.
So many times.
Now that Tommy Martin has come on, you might have just seen there. This is a night that's made for Martin. Scoreline like this, performance like this, something out of the box.
Not only that, Eddie's superb at getting the 40-20.
That's a good kick from long. Just turning them round, eating the clock up.
Giving them the opportunity just to control the game. And how many times have they kicked into that corner? Carl Pratt has really had to work overtime. And it shows you the importance, Eddie, about the coach looks through the videotapes. You've got to search for the weakness. Just doesn't happen.
Keep it.
Here's Robbie Paul now.
Yes.
Needs something special from Bradford.
Hold with me.
Bradford. Just no way through this defence.
Well, they've been out-muscled, without a doubt.
They have been dominant tonight, St Helens. There's no doubt about that. Here's Gilmore. Britton Smith leading the way. Ooh, that was forward from Lowe's.
It appeared it pretty late, got away with it. Well, I'm surprised that they're still sort of sticking to that short passing game when they need something more expansive at 34-10. You get the impression that the Bulls have said, well, we can't get through. They've got to change the tactics. Even the kick over the top, they don't have the sweeper.
High kick. Claimed easily by Gardner. And back come the Saints again.
He's worked hard as Radford.
Well, if it is going to be a Bradford night, they've got to work even harder, Phil, haven't they?
Yeah, they should do. You know, enthusiasm is everything in sport. It wins far more matches than ability, and Saints just have a surplus here tonight. We've talked about John Kirkpatrick. They win another penalty. Absolutely everything going in their favour now. Completely dominant, in full control. Paul School thought, look, they just can't wait to kick the ball out to touch and get to play on here. Everybody wants the ball. Mick Himes, come on, he's dangerous now in the acting halfback position. Everything going their way, and it's just a long night here at the office for the Bradford Bulls.
Phil, I get the impression that Bradford look very tired. How does it seem down on the touchline?
Well, it's only the second match, isn't it? Third competitive match, sorry, in the last 3 months, and they just don't really seem ready or sharp or focused enough for this game. When you get behind at St Helens, it's very hard to come back, as we're seeing right now.
And they are camped on the Bradford line again, the Saints. Here's Long, now Sculthorpe, short pass, and that was Mike Bennett. They are examining this Bradford defence. How did he hang on to that? How on earth did Sculthorpe keep hold of that?
Good tackle by Fielden, though.
Hyam gets another.
Yep.
Scampered out from dummy half. He saw that there was a big hole in the defence, and he got over for yet another St Helens try. But it's turning into a rout. I don't know about bad day at the office. It's a rout.
I get the impression they haven't even opened the door of the office, this Bradford side. But what a wonderful effort, especially from this fella. From big boots to Phil, of course, Kieran Cunningham, and he's done it several times last year. He's a quality player. Look at that. That's poor defence, but he took the advantage. Phil Clark spoke about the enthusiasm, and you need that, especially at the top level of a professional game. And he just went on the arc. It made it look simple, but he knew exactly, before that ball was being played, he knew exactly where he was going. That's confidence.
Seventh try of the night for Mickey Hyam and the Saints. Sean Long from bang in front. Another 2 to St Helens total. They've hit 40 points to 10. And there's still time on that clock. They could get even more here tonight, the Saints. This is sending a message out, isn't it? The champions, they don't want to let that trophy go. And Brian Noble's men, 6-5 favourites to replace them as Super League champions in 2003. What do the bookies know?
I wouldn't panic yet, Eddie. Chris Joint taking a well-earned rest. But it's a team effort they have here.
This is Leon Price. It was palmed back to him by a St Helens player. Bradford are over. Bradford are over for a try, the most simple try, and probably one of the most simple tries we'll see all year. Leon Price, he was in position then as the St Helens man flapped it back, and Leon Price just ghosted through them.
Well, they went for the short kick. It was successful at the restart. No doubt about it. I think it was Gleeson that got a hand to it. That was a good step there from Leon Price. First time we've seen tonight some of his skills.
Stankovic it was.
Stankovic, was it? Either way, this man took full opportunity. He's had a torrid night in defence, but he knows full well maybe that's just a bit of a lifeline.
Yes.
Well, on such things matches turn, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that they can come back. But at 40 points to 16, hope springs eternal for the Bulls.
Well, it's something to build their confidence on, and because it has been shattered, little doubt about it, they've been completely outplayed. And the players and Brian Noble are fully aware of that, so it really is a point of respectability to make sure that they can build on it. Oh, dear me.
Play on off his chest, says the referee Ian Smith.
Oh, I think they stopped then.
By the way, that Bradford try took 10 seconds. And now Saints are done for not standing square at the play the ball. It took 10 seconds from the kickoff to Leon Price plonking the ball over the line. Got to be one of the quickest tries we've ever seen in Super League, I would think. From the kickoff.
That's from the kickoff, right?
Yep. From the kickoff. Or from a kickoff.
Okay. I was only splitting hairs. Well, I must say, this second half, Finacolo's put in a pretty good knock. Plenty of effort from the winger.
Bradford trying to expand it a bit. Good hands, Robbie Paul. This is Peacock. Tackled by Sculthorpe. Naylor. Leon Price. On it goes to Deacon. This is Forshaw back. Big hit by Stankovic.
But it's one-out stuff. If you're going to bring back someone on the inside with a short pass, you want a second phase of attack. Seen very little of that tonight.
Forshaw trying to get them going. Good tackle by Tommy Martin.
They're claiming that he dropped it, Forshaw.
Here's Deacon. There's the dab for the chasers. Gilmore's after it. Oh, he did well. Anthony Stewart did well. He was brave then.
Well, you know, this Stewart, he doesn't get the accolades he deserves, you know. I think he's a fine player. Good quality player, too.
Offside now, Bradford. Referees are going to be hard pushed to ping defences for offside this year. The back foot only needs to be in line with the referee, and then they can make them charge for the ball as soon as it touches the foot. Another little change, another little tinkering of the rule. Let's go down to Clarkey again, Steve-O.
Well, Eddie, you know, a lot of people struggle when it's first day back at work after a long holiday, and I think the Bulls are proving that here tonight. Said it's a bad day back at the office. They just really haven't been at it from the start, and magnificent performance. You just see St Helens at the best now. As I say, that put the kiss of death and they drop the ball. At this sort of stage in the game, this is when they start to entertain the crowd to the best.
Well, Leon Price was penalised for that in the first half. Saints now are penalised for not standing square at the play of the ball, but Leon Price once again there, he put the ball down and then got to his feet to play it, and he was penalised for that in the first half by Ian Smith.
Well, you made the point that the players know the rules.
Well, do they? Here, look.
That's what I've just said.
Now, this was a penalty against Leon Price first half.
To be fair,
yes, again, the
someone
Saints
was
man,
hanging
Darren
on.
Britt.
Yep.
Yes, it was. Here's Mike Forshaw.
Well, I'm sure we can clarify it with the referee's boss on Wednesday.
He's put his refs under pressure, hasn't he?
Has he ever?
This is Stuart Fielden.
No, I must say, Ian Smith as well. He's done it well tonight.
He has. He's had a great game. Lowe's pops it back. Leon Price, knock on.
Oh, I thought that went backwards, but obviously the official said that it was a forward motion.
It was a call, I think, from the touch judge, and the touch judges and referees this year are wired for sound. There's no problem with miscommunication now. The referees have the earpiece. They're in touch with the touch judges who have a microphone.
Well, let's hope they don't get too much of an electric shock, Eddie.
Boots and all, Wednesday, Sky Sports Extra at 8. Stuart Cummings, our guest, and a very happy Ian Millwood. And don't forget, tomorrow evening, Saturday at 6, Sky Sports 2, the Giants return to Super League. They're up against the Warrington Wolves. Big match that for both those clubs, because a lot of people think they could be struggling a bit this year. We shall see.
Well, I must say, with just under 15 minutes remaining of this game, Eddie, the fact that I'm looking at now is that, remember, St Helens, they had the flu bug running through their team. Now, normally you would expect the side to start blowing up in the last 15 minutes. We'll have to wait and see.
Little mistake from Long, yes. Well, yeah, they've had that gastroenteritis, the flu, as you say, running through the camp. They also had that big hiding last week by the Roosters.
Running through the camp.
Here is Robbie Paul. Shaped to pass wide. Newlover's on him like a flash.
They've done a good job, haven't they? They really have shut him down. There's been one clean break from Robbie Paul tonight. That was in the first half. They couldn't consolidate, couldn't put points on the board from it.
They're a flamboyant side, St Helens, but boy, they're big in defence as well. This is Peacock. Just couldn't get the ball away.
Well, in the final minutes, there's quite a few of the Bradford players out there. Lowe's is one that can really just stand up and be counted. There's been some very poor performances from the Bulls tonight.
Deacon showed it, got the ball away in the end to Gilmore. Gilmore will attack the line. Gilmore will attack the line.
Well, I must say, since he's come on, he looks the most dangerous in the black jumper, doesn't he?
Member of the England World Sevens party in Sydney. Lost the final. Lowe's. Tackle not completed. Out the back door to Harpy. Here is Leon Price. There's the high kick. Looking for Leslie Vinacolo. Dropped, that was by Adi Gardner. Knock on.
Yeah. Gardner, of course, wouldn't have known, but it appeared to be that Vinacolo and Deacon was in an offside position when Price lofted that high kick. But full credit to the boy. He went for the football. Gardner, he's had a solid game tonight.
And here is Forshaw.
Off him, I'm here.
Bradford, 10 metres away. Lowe's, wide to Price. He'll come back this way. Leon Price. Second try for Leon Price. Hey, they may be not completely done and dusted yet, the Bulls. Leon Price with his second try.
Well, as the flu bug started to just affect this St Helens side, it's a good effort, but it was a feeble attempt, but good step there by Leon Price. The second one that is produced, this is the knock-on. Gardner certainly did that, went for the football, full of confidence. Good work by James Lowe's as well. Saints expected the ball to go the other way. He threw the dummy, switched it, and Price, a step, did the rest. Well, nervous moments for Saints, maybe.
4 from 4 for Deacon, this for 5 from 5 in a full house. 40 points to 22 if he kicks it. 40 points to 22 it is. Surely not. Surely not. But hey, this is the Super League.
How many times have we seen it at this ground? Normally it's the Saints that produce it in the dying seconds. To score a try from the kickoff straight away, you become nervous, Nelly.
Stop calling me Nelly. Here is Long with the kickoff. It's going to be deep.
Of called you worse.
Yeah. Fielden running strongly now. Well, 10 minutes, 11 minutes or thereabouts, another penalty. Fielden held down, trying to get back to his feet.
Ian Millwood, the coach, has got to get out the message now. Hey, come on. We're not just going to put the cue on the rack. We're not just going to hang on for this. We are capable of playing wonderful open rugby league football. Let's get back into the swing of it. It could prove costly if they start just hanging off and hanging on for that final whistle.
Important try, by the way, for Leon Price, that was. It was his 50th in Super League in 97 games. This is Shontaine Harpy! And that's a great tackle by the skipper, Joint. They're on the roll, Bradford. They're sniffing something. This is Deacon.
Beautiful pass that put Shontaine Harpy through a wonderful gap.
Lowe's. Fielden. Fielden still. Hold down.
Will Jimmy go on his one on his own?
Lowe's. Back it goes to Robbie Paul. Quick hands. This is Carl Pratt. Oh, great defence. Great defence. Stewart, magnificent. And Kirkpatrick.
They just won't give in, will they? Great stuff from Naylor to tip it on. But the cover defence, some of the moments we've seen this, it goes back, I think it was it Hyam that went back last season? We saw one from Kieran Cunningham when it looked for all the world that the opposition was going to score. And they've done that 3 times this evening.
Having a great game, Anthony Stewart. Selected on the wing originally. Albert Hill, full-back. Played brilliantly. 9 to go. Saints with an 18-point lead. Should be enough. But Bradford, couple of quick tries. Who knows? Banganar was a bit rough then with Stewart. Here is Joint.
Yeah, rough but fair. It's not tiddlywinks, Eddie.
Long. Well, if it was St Helens who were 18 points adrift at this stage, we'd be saying it could be. Never say never. Surely not for Bradford. Anthony Stewart is hurt and has a problem. Clutching the arm. The kick from Martin is over the top.
But
and this is Vinacolo now.
It's a sensible kick as well. He split the fullback and the winger.
No penalties!
Oh, lashed out then with the feet, and there's a St Helens man down. They've had the penalty. I think Joint got one in the face then, or was it Mickey Hyam? Mickey Hyam it was.
Certainly was. The rules also state that once you've done the tackle, you've got to roll away. You got pushed away from the big fella. It was an accident. No two ways about that.
Wesley! Watch your feet!
Well, he's been warned on the run to watch his feet. He certainly did.
Oof, nearly didn't find touch again then, St Helens. Bradford, rather. Penalty count not too bad considering all the new interpretations, but there's another one. And Chris Joint now being warned.
Well, that's a sin-bin offence.
5 metres in front of me when he tapped that with the ball. Now, we've had not square, we've had holding down, we've had this. Next one's going in the bin pile.
Next one in the bin. And Lowe's takes Bradford further downfield.
Well, I think he knows that he's got the vital 2 points. There's 2 balls on the field. The referee, and they kicked it off. No, they have done now.
Well, he's got the points in the bag, Ian Millwood, but Bradford making him sweat just now. Here is Fielden. Bounces off Darren Britt. Bounces off Stankovic. Keeps it going to Deacon. St Helens swarming around the ball carrier. Giving a lesson now in defence. Can they stand firm? Forshaw steps inside one. Offloads to Robbie Paul. Robbie Paul scampering and dancing. Here is Gilmore. And Gilmore will come back this way. And Gilmore still.
What an effort. You've got to admire now both sides. They really have given it all.
Lowe's with a dab. Picked up by Long. Fielden and Vinacolo with the tackle on the Saints scrum half. Gardner at dummy half.
Sean Long read that so superbly. And that offside, and that's a high shot as well. Jim is frustrated. Gardner has a big grin all over his face. And Gardner sort of points at the scoreboard. He said, I'm on winning pay. He knew it was coming.
Cheers, Paul.
And James Lowes didn't let him down either.
It's on his foot. Play on, well done.
Darren Britt,
Hold with me.
Gilmore and Forshaw combining. Joint, Yonkers. Yonkers to Sculthorpe. This is Bennett.
That's two.
St Helens now, their turn to attack with Stankovic, with Yonkers forward.
Well, that's a style of play that will be pleasing Ian Millward. As I say, any other side you would probably say shut up shop. Not this mob. And that's the way to play. They can turn defence into attack so quickly. He's had a big game. All the side that's been involved in red and white tonight.
Bradford, come back.
They've been outstanding.
Come on.
Well, they blew Bradford away in the first half, didn't they? It's been a bit more of an arm wrestle in the second half. Injuries, though, will play a part this year. Bill's got first injury news tonight.
Well, yeah, let's hope these injuries haven't taken the shine off this St Helens performance. We saw Anthony Stewart coming off grimacing in pain with that right wrist clutched, but it seems as though it was a bang to the elbow, and hopefully the jarring will wear off. Also, Jason Hooper sitting on the sidelines nursing a bit of a knock, and that too they're hoping can be easily run off.
Inside the last 5, 18 points the gap. Saints have enough in the bank, I think, but Bradford, they have bossed this second half in terms of possession.
Well, that guy that just put in the tackle, Darren Britt, he's had an outstanding match tonight. Especially in the opening 20 minutes. Really took it to the Bradford pack.
Now Leon Price. The kicking game for Bradford has been poor. And here is Kirkpatrick on a hat-trick. 4 minutes to go. Offside.
Slow it down, says Tommy Martin. Come on, Scully, give me the ball. We'll build up on this. And it's typical of the Saints now. I bet they put up on a set pattern move. And this is the time to do it. They know they've got the 2 points in the bag. They've got the winning bonus. Let's go through the routines. Keep your eye on long.
Stankovic and Britt. Brilliant! What a pass from Britt. And brilliantly picked up by Sculthorpe, who claims his second. Big smiles tonight. There were some grimaces and frowns this time last week. Tonight, the Saints have been simply sensational.
You said the word, Eddie. That's the reason why Ian Millward tried so hard to bring the big fella Darren Britt from Australia. He said he would settle into the style of English football, and that is all style. That's a la Arthur Beeton in his heyday. Look at this. Come and get me. Offload. Wonderful.
I think this fellow agrees with you. I think he appreciated that as well. Fabulous try. Scored by Sculthorpe, created by Darren Britt.
You just got the impression that Ian Millward, Eddie, was just turning to the scene and saying, I told you so, this guy's brilliant. He's had a wonderful game, and so has this fella here.
Heroes all in the St Helens jersey. 46-22. Well, Brian Noble has a lot to work on. They have a cup tie next week, and they're back in the Super League, of course, a fortnight's time. They're going for the short kick-off again. It's come up for them. Vinacolo, Leon Price, Mike Forshaw, Anderson. Only briefly in the second half, Bradford threatened to come back.
Well, 2 bits of brilliance from Leon Price. Something to build upon.
Here's Robbie Paul. Now Peacock flicks the pass wildly out the back. Collected by Leon Price.
There's a lot of work to do as Brian Noble. I'm sure he will sift through this videotape.
Little dink over the top from Lowes. Gobbled up though by Adi Gardner. Been a great night for St Helens. Bradford's first defeat on the opening day of Super League ever. The last time they lost on the opening game of the season was in the last winter campaign, centenary year. They were beaten 55-10 by St Helens here. 46-22 tonight, half a minute remaining. One more try from St Helens. Gleeson.
It could have been on there. He just slipped at the vital moment.
Last one here.
Seconds to go.
Martin with a drop goal attempt. Wide. Runs dead. 15 seconds remaining. And that will do, thanks. One last attack from Bradford to see us home.
Take it back, he was still offside.
Well, maybe we won't get time for a last Bradford attack.
I don't think they want to. I think they're quite happy to go into the sheds.
Little dink over the top from Pratt. It's all over. A wonderful start to the season for Ian Millwood and St Helens. A breathtaking first half display. Darren Britt has stood head and shoulders above everybody else, and it has been an all-round team performance from the champions. Game played in magnificent heart and spirit. 46 points to 22. Sculthorpe finishing the rout. Sculthorpe in the first half getting a second try. Long has kicked brilliantly. One or two misses, but well, that will not be held against him. Well, Paul Sculthorpe's had another outstanding night, and here he is talking to Bill.
Paul, what a difference a week makes for the Saints.
Yeah, just showing how we can play. It was important that we bounced back. We just stuck to the game plan. It's something we fell off last week.
Well, almost everything that went wrong last week went right tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, it was the most important things that went wrong last week. The field position, the kicking game, and we got that spot on today. I think we learnt a lot off the Roosters. As a kick chasing, it's a massive part of the game. We got it right.
Was there any intention tonight to show that you can beat the Bulls by more than 1 point? You don't need a late drop goal.
No, definitely. The most important thing was picking the 2 points. The grand final's gone. In our mind, we won it. And we're there to retain it, hopefully.
But there's still a long way to go, and one game doesn't win you the Super League.
No, that's it. That's why we weren't looking for revenge, or the Bulls looking for revenge and stuff. It's all new season. It's one game of 30.
It's hard to pick out any individual in a performance like that, but Darren Britt was outstanding for you tonight, wasn't he?
He was awesome, and he laid the platform, and the tries come off him. I thought the whole team played tremendous. John Kirkpatrick, he only got a call up half an hour before the game. He's had a flogging this morning, with the boys who were not playing. So to back it up and play like he did, I thought it was superb.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Cheers, Bob.